shining the stars and the sun. Welcome inside the Parisi Palace, high above 3773 East Broadway. This is a live edition of the Jake Feinberg Show, coming on Power Talk. Please go to our website, powertalk.live. Download our free app to your smartphone so you can stream all of our live local programming, including Solomon on Blast, the Jim Parisi Show, and yours truly, the Jake Feinberg Show. We can't thank you enough for making us part of your day today. And a cat that I've been looking for some time. We just had it's been a minute to try to set it up together, but she clearly is channeling some beautiful spiritual frequencies and has throughout her entire career. I first got hip to her through her collaboration with Jerry Garcia, and the Jerry Garcia Band is a singer in that band. And then sort of mystically, I was staying over at Marla Hunt Hanson's house and her husband's house in Vallejo area, and they broke out this Fairfax Street Choir CD, and I look at the back, and it says the name of my guest on one of the songs that we just heard. I said, "Is that the same Julie Straton or Julie Stafford?" They said, "Yeah, absolutely." And I so we. Yeah, I mean, she's moved on in her life, and she has different passions and life streams, but today we got a chance to break it down. Julie Straton, welcome to the Jake Feinberg Show.
Let me straighten the name out for you first, so it is confusing. I get it confused myself. I'm Stafford by my maiden name, and Straton by my married name. I married Ted Straton, who is in his own right a fabulous musician, and it's been like 40 years.
So it's Julie Straton is what
yeah,
I should.
That's good.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I kind of wanted you to talk about if you just learned to sing on your own. I mean, in the sense of like, how did you find your own individual voice as a girl, and were you listening to a lot of like soul music, or were you kind of just in your own little world?
So it's an evolution, as it all is for most people who get into music. My mother was a Berkeley bluegrass artist. She was Miriam Stafford.
Oh,
yeah, long since passed.
Oh, wow.
But she was a banjo player, and she played on that Out West in Berkeley album, one of those folk collections.
I got to look that up. I'm not even hip to that.
Oh, yeah, check it out.
It's cool.
It's actually great. She has a song on there, and along with a lot of other great local artists from the day. So she raised me in the back of Freight and Salvage when she'd be gigging, and I remember distinctly going to sleep on a bed of coats in the coat room as the bands and the artists were playing. So I could go to sleep anywhere, and still can, actually. And I sang harmony with her, so I learned to sing harmony before I learned to sing melody. And I think that shaped my musical career, was just not knowing another way to be.
How was it that the harmony, looking back on it, was significant as opposed to learning that before the melody?
I couldn't reach the notes, so harmony was easier. My voice was higher, of course, as a small child. I think I was 3. My first memories of singing with her, and so the harmony was what I could reach, and it became what I could hear. In some cases, better than the melody, and always usually the top part. So I became a very high, what they call a dogland soprano, and stayed there for most of my musical career. So always, like with the choir, I came in as a first soprano, and that was not my first gigs, but close to the first official one. So other than singing with my mom, singing with the choir was about it for me. I remember the moment that I fell in love with the street choir, and it absolutely changed my path in life.
Do you want to? Can you talk about when you? I mean, that was quite a significant thing. So go ahead.
It was great. So I was at College of Marin. my first semester there out of high school. And I'd been going back to high school because I graduated early, and the woman, the girl, she wasn't a woman then, who had been cast to play Titania in Midsummer Night's Dream, got really hip to David Bowie and chopped off all her hair and dyed it green. And so she got fired from the cast, and so I was going back to the high school to play Titania, and I was going back and forth from College of Marin to Tamalpais High School, and one day I walked in the Student Union building and heard this amazing sound, and it was Laura Allen playing zither and singing "Gather Together."
Wow.
And it just was transformational. I stood there transfixed. I think I was hearing the choir and shooting sparks of light off of the choir. It was amazing, and I just had to be part of that. And as it so happened, the sound man was Moses Thrasher, and he was also the bus driver for my high school, where I was coming over from Bolinas, making that 45-minute drive by bus with 300-foot drops into the ocean or into the woods, trusting our lives to Moses Thrasher on the bus. And
dude, that's insane.
When I saw Moses was associated, I was thrilled because 17, I believe, and Marla was an amazing mentor. She just taught me so much, and the people in the group were so unique and unlike anybody I had met before that time. So it quickly went from wanting to be an actor to needing to be a singer.
I mean, can you talk at all about the inclusivity of a sort of a gospel group? I mean, there's a lot of sort of multi-dimensional.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a certain point in the recording industry, and I'm not sure if you were still in it. I mean, by the late 70s or early 80s, if you were not Christian, you couldn't play on a Christian album.
Right.
Right. I mean, you go back to the Mirror label, MY, those albums were ridiculous in the early. I mean, Michael Omardian and those cats. I mean,
Right.
Dude, I've interviewed Michael. Like, those bands that's some of the hippest lyrics, and I mean, you had all sorts of incredible studio cats playing on that stuff. It was totally open, and then all of a sudden it became sort of this very exclusive group. And I understand that organized religion can do that, but how would you describe the spirituality of the Fairfax Collective?
Well, I wouldn't call it exclusive at all. I mean, I think if you wanted to be there and if you could sing it all, mostly you got an audition, and they didn't close it off to anybody as long as you could carry a tune and would show up on time for gigs, and were willing to practice 2 days a week, which is burdensome if you are holding down a job or have kids. But we would practice for 2-3 hours, sometimes twice a week, and so it was a big commitment. As far as, at 17, I wasn't so aware of the album making process. I think ultimately we would have liked to have made an album at that point, but it was a big deal. Then you had to go into a big studio, and that cost big money, and nobody had that at that time. So we were, it was a dream, and so what we did was gig, and we gigged a lot, and I think the choir had its own following. We spent a lot of time at Sleeping Lady and local places, and it was a mixture of rock and gospel, and some people were less gospel-y than others, and but it all sort of flowed together. And spirituality, I think, more than religion, was the name of the game there.
Yeah,
so
I mean, this is. I mean, I got to ask you right off the bat because I mean, so you grew up in Bolinas, or you lived there for a while?
I did. I lived there for I'm going to say 4 or 5 years. I lived there part-time as a child of divorce. My dad was in Bolinas and my mom was in Berkeley. And so I would go between the two places. And Bolinas was absolute freedom. It was so amazing. It was just dirt roads and nothing dividing us but just a little bit of space. And the kids would get out and they would holler back and forth from one house to the next. It might be 4 or 5 blocks over. If you could scream loud enough, you could call your friends and get together and go horseback riding or go to the beach. And we lived like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn, barefoot, horseback riding, and swimming with our clothes on. So that was an amazing way to grow up.
Yeah, and I was going to say, because Steve Swallow, the great bass player, he moved out there to Bolinas in 1970 and he did some collaborations with Banana and Joe Bauer from the Youngbloods, and he talked about these poets that were there. Robert Creeley, Ferlinghetti was there, Joanne Kiger, Gary Snyder. And so was your dad hooked into that poet scene? Because, that to me is where the rubber meets the road for where I'm at, is this sort of bohemian. Go ahead.
So no, the answer to the question is he wasn't hooked into that, but he was a builder. So the very few houses that you see out in Bolinas, he was a builder for many of those houses. Wow. So he made amazing places to live, quite unique, and because of the building ban, water moratorium and all. And I have a sister that still lives out there, and she's doing well, and as far as I know, she doesn't ever want to leave there, so that's a great thing for her. And I was raised by my mom in Berkeley, so between the two, the music scene there and then the nature that we had, and I believe I was friends with the daughter of Creeley. Knew about Ferlinghetti, but never met him. That whole beat thing was like my generation.
It was, but they were still active. Their heyday had come and but can you talk about? I have to believe that your mom was cutting the rug with the original bluegrass cat. Was she playing with Garcia back in the mid '60s?
No, although Garcia did know her.
What was the name of the band or what was the name of the album that was cut on that you talked about?
Out West in Berkeley.
Oh my God, I got to get a hold of this. So she knew Garcia because
he was actually young when she was playing. He was coming up, so he would have been, probably 17, 18, 19 years old about the same time she was playing at Freight and Salvage. And oh gosh, I can't even remember some of the names of the places that she would play.
Well, like the oh God, the hold on, give me 1 second. I'll come up with the name. I just know that so who were her peers? I'm looking at this thing. This is on Our Holy Records. Mm-hmm. The recording, it was released in '65, recorded '63. Yeah. 64. What an epic. And now who in the heck was in? Is that a picture of you on the front cover, by the way, or no?
No.
Okay.
I don't think so. No. That is Tiki and Kent. And I don't know that they didn't keep those names. They changed their names, but no, I'm seeing Tony Brown, I think, and Peter Berg.
Tony Brown, holy cow.
Fredrickson, probably.
Holy cow. You mean the Tony Brown that played with Terry Garthwaite?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Wait, correct. so she was in your mom's, from your mom's generation?
Yes. Yeah, they played a lot together. I was in the Tony Brown band for a while.
Are you kidding me? Wait, where is that cat? Is she still active? Where is she?
I don't, I've been gone out of there for so long. I've been here in Georgia for 25 years, so I don't know. I'm hoping she's fabulous and beautiful as she was, and hopefully doing some music somewhere, but I don't know.
Would you say that even though you were obviously just a kid really, did you understand the sort of or did your mom, really buy into the whole concept of like the improvisational nature of bluegrass music?
Oh yeah. Well, she was taught to play banjo by a family. I guess they call her, a nanny that had lived in Harlem when my mom was being raised in New York,
Whoa.
and she would come in and clean house for my mom's family, and taught mom to play banjo, and she took it from there. It was a overwhelming desire for her, and by the time I was 3, she and my dad had split up because she felt the calling and the need to be on the stage in Berkeley, and I was really much too small to go at that age, so I stayed home, and Dad just got mad. So yeah, she would go and play at the clubs, and by the time I was old enough to really appreciate it, she was taking me along, and I got to sing on stage with her a little bit, and I think that's where the bug got me.
It's really interesting because a lot in jazz, especially too, the banjo was a huge rhythm instrument for a long time. I'm amazed that your mom was studying under the tutelage of a African American woman who could play banjo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, pretty cool, huh?
Oh, I mean, really cool. I mean, I to me, that's like, I mean, what was the name of her? I mean, was it just this? This looks to be a compilation. This the way out west Berkeley. But what was the name of that band?
Let's see. Well, she had a group for a little while. I think they were called String of Hearts. That was a little bit later on.
Oh dear. Oh, wait a minute. Wait just a minute here. I can't believe who I'm seeing on this album. A guy that Wavy Gravy just raves about. They were somehow let go from the police with having all this DMT in the back of the trunk of the car on the Golden Gate Bridge. Was Perry Letterman.
Yeah.
Perry Letterman, dude.
Yeah.
But I mean,
Letterer?
he was a ridiculous guitar player. Was he playing guitar in that? I mean, he's all over this album.
Yeah, it's true. So, right. If you Google her, you can find pictures of her. There's two big black and white pictures of her on Google when she was about 20, 21 years old, possibly. And she married Bill Lindenau, so you'll find her as Miriam Stafford Lindenau, I think. And I'm trying to think if there's another. I think there was another album that she was on. It was one of the songs that she had arranged. I know she did an arrangement for who was the Kingston Trio. She took an old folk song and rearranged it, and they bought it from her, and we had money from that for a while.
I'm curious as you like the first time that you played in I mean, your mom was steeped in acoustic music, but when was the first band that you were in that plugged in?
So that plugged in. Okay, so probably the first one, date-wise, would have been the choir. And after the choir, I went on with a partnership with Jennifer Hall, who is an amazing singer in her own right. We were partners, and we were in Rock Justice together. Do you remember that show on Broadway?
I was born in '78. I don't know when that show came out.
Rock Justice was like, no, you would have been a small boy, but it was '80s hair band music. Marty Ballin and who was that other guy? Marty Ballin and Robert Heyman.
Yeah.
Wrote that, and Michael Varney was in it, and Jesse Bradman, and Diane Buckaloo. Do you know any of these names?
No, I mean, I interviewed Ballin. Rest in peace. I'm trying to figure out from the time that your mom was on the bandstand at Freight and Salvage in the '60s, like what went on in the '70s? What was that? What was going on in the '70s for you?
Grade school.
Wow. So you were really just
Yeah.
a young girl. I mean, just
Yeah. Yeah.
wow, wow.
I was in love with the Beatles and running on the beach, and learning to be a person. So I felt at the time that I wanted to act so bad, and for the stage, and that was my direction. I was solidly entrenched that way. I wanted to audition for Juilliard and go be an actor somewhere. And so the actual experience with the street choir that first day just picked me up and shook me like a rag doll. And my life changed from that point forward. I don't know, I would be on a completely different path had it not been for that. So.
Well, I'm curious about the, growing up. If you could talk a little bit about the school, because it seems to me you might have been going to school at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe a little bit younger than the Barsotti brothers.
Yeah, I don't know them.
They went to. I'll just read this quote. He goes, I graduated from, they were Bill Graham's right-hand men, but he said, I graduated from Berkeley High in 72 when I was a little younger than a lot of than the other folks. My brother Peter was 7 years older. He was in college when I was in middle school. Berkeley decided to do these alternative schools at one point, and when I was a junior in high school, I was just about done with my high school requirements, and I was going to graduate a year early, but the school opened up something called the School of the Arts, where all the students could have their classes oriented around the arts. I decided to stay for my senior year, and I never left the theater building. They had radio broadcasting class, costume making class, stagecraft, acting, lighting. And for my English class, I read Shakespeare. It was a whole immersive kind of program, and at that time, there was that deal at the Berkeley Community Theater that if you were a professional outfit coming in to rent it, it was a union. It was a union building, so you had to have 4 to 6 union stagehands. Well, the school provided 4 to 6 student stagehands to work in conjunction with the union guys. So where did you, were you part of that immersive arts program because you wanted to act so badly?
No, because I wasn't in Berkeley any longer. That we moved to Bolinas by that point. So I was at Tam High, which had a great drama program, by the way. Dan Caldwell ran that.
You say Tamalpais?
Tamalpais High School.
Tamalpais. You went to Tamalpais High School. Unbelievable.
I did. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I went to school with like Kathleen Quinlan, who really was the first breakout from that school, and under Dan Caldwell, who was a fantastic drama teacher, and I stayed in that class for 4 years, and I was it was the most inspired time in my life as far as the world opening up and seeing your path stretching in front of you and having it be clear. And we had he would send us out for auditions, and we would go, and I was able to audition for what was it called? American the one that they shot in San Rafael, that was about the sock hop. Do you know? No, you're too young for that.
I wish I could help you out here.
But I was able to audition for some really good directors back in the early days, when mostly everything was out of L.A. and just a few things were coming up towards Northern California. George Lucas and didn't have his place there yet, so we had opportunities, put it that way, that probably other young actors didn't have, and I didn't hit anything because I didn't quite really have the desire there. For acting, it takes desire. You need to have a look, you need to have a desire, you need to have the support, and you need to have talent. And I lacked in some stuff. Probably the desire was just not enough to overcome all the rejection. So, and I felt like acting was intangible. It was something I couldn't quite grasp, and music was just so solidly right there beneath my feet. Step out, and there's the stepping stone. So one thing led to another, and a really good partnership. Doing backgrounds, did backgrounds on a couple of dozen albums, whether or not they were released or not. Probably most weren't. But I got a chance to sing with Steve Perry, probably highlight of my life, And of course, singing with the Garcia band for about a year and a half was great. It wasn't the experience that I expected to have, but it was a major experience and something at a young age. I think I was probably 24, 25 by that time. Riding out in limousines and flying first class and playing amphitheaters and junior coliseums, that kind of thing was amazing. And not being a deadhead, I really didn't know what to expect. I didn't know about the culture. All I knew was that they were kind of famous and they were a local band. And I went in to sing with them, and I did not expect the people on the East Coast to bring flowers and gifts and line up at barricades and be screaming, or even my name. People knew who I was, and that was.
I mean, I got to be honest with you. The '82 tour. Can you talk about your? I mean, Melvin Seals told me the greatest story about his first rehearsal when he went down to Club Front, and just coming from the church and just being completely freaked out by, the skeletons and the violin. It was antithetical to everything that was going on in the Bible, but. He's like, Jerry came in and he's like, Jerry's like, yeah, he's like, let's play some tunes, man. So they played a couple of Motown tunes and Jerry's like, yep, that's it. That's what I want. And then they all disappeared and went off and, did what they did. And Melvin's like, where did everybody go? It's like.
No, we didn't practice a lot. I think I remember about 4 practices during the whole time I was with
When
the
was
band.
When was the first, because I'm trying to figure out, because there was this transition between, Dowd Shaw was the drummer, and Ezra Mohawk was singing with Liz Stiers, and then all of a sudden Julie Straton comes on the scene, and then my favorite Garcia band tour of all time. I never saw the Dead. I never saw Jerry. I mean, I just missed the boat, but so much of my show is dedicated to him, and I mean, '82, that summer tour is like the greatest and the cool, and it's not cool, but what's confounding to me is that through my interviews with Liz, she got really sick, so she had to go back home, and you wound up doing solo accompanist vocals for the last part of the tour, which is the most badass thing in the world,
I'm amazed. I'm so amazed that you discovered that.
Well, no, actually, before we go any further, I want to put this. I've been waiting to play this for you for I don't know how many years since we've been trying to set this up. So let's just check this out, and we'll break it down.
Open up your eyes. Be prudent. Breathe the sunny sky. You are part of everything. Be prudent. Won't you open up your eyes? Look around, round, 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 round. Look around, round, 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 round. Look around, round, 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 round. Look around, round, 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 round.
I mean, I've been playing that for my daughters for so long in the car. That's from June 24th, 1982.
Wow, Jake, I got to say, that is the first time I've ever heard that.
Okay, I want to be very clear. I'll send you the link. It's on YouTube.
Okay.
And
no, I didn't know.
it's so great to see you in your element. You're clearly you're having a ball, and it's so cool to see. I don't know what kind of how you and Liz had worked it out with Jerry, but with you just being one on one, it was like he backed off and let you sing that coda or whatever you call it, and it was like it's epic to see you guys on stage. At that time, Melvin was extremely young, but I was floored because I'm obsessed with this summer tour. It was just like on top of that, like all my guys, Billy Cobham, all and
was Ron Tutt on that one?
No, that was Billy Kreutzmann. Kreutzmann.
Yeah.
No, I mean they set up this thing where they both had, or at least Jerry had. They both had records, but also like they set up this thing where it was Bobby and the Midnights and Jerry Garcia band, and I'm like, Julie Straton is on this freaking tour, man. This is my favorite tour, and a lot of it has to do. I mean, I've interviewed Ron Tutt, and I love Ron, and he's the freaking greatest dude, and he's the baddest drummer. I just love Billy Kreutzmann's drumming. So I love the. I mean, do you remember how you actually connected with? Was Liz like, yo, we need an extra? I mean, how did you even get it?
So, funny story.
Yeah.
So we were working at the Trident. And
oh my
that was
God! By the way, just for the
restaurant.
record, before I cut you, I mean, Bill Cosby. I did 2 hours with him before the world caved in on him about his involvement in music. I never really was a Cosby Show fan, but that guy used to, just for the audience's sake, because it was a bastion of jazz. He used to snort cocaine out of the cigarette ashtrays there. Just for the record, that place was legendary. Continue. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's like it. And I was pretty full of myself at that point. I was singing, I was gigging, I was doing a lot of stuff and working, to make a living, because of course you don't make a living at singing at that level.
Right.
But so going into work and waitressing, and I'd been finally allowed to waitress at night. It was glamorous and sparkly at night, and it was right by the water, and so and in trying to be a good waiter, so I would get these great tips. Speed was very important. You got to bring people things when they expect it, and so Liz was a cashier, and I would be, I'm sure, one of the most difficult people to deal with because I was wanted to get back to my table. So I would come up and have small hissy fits waiting in line for people to pay their bills, or the other waiters to bring their money up and to get their.
You were really obsessed with timing, because you're saying a lot of big spenders.
Yeah.
You're saying a lot of big spenders were going in there, or just.
Well, Carlos Santana would come in and leave $20 tips for a plate
at the
of
time.
fried
That's
rice.
like $100. Yeah.
Yes, it was a lot of money, and you can't give poor service, and I was just conscientious.
No, I
like
dig, yeah.
So anyway, I'm sure she thought I was just horrible, and so this availability came up. One of the other waiters told me that's when I guess Ezra needed to step down, and they said, you need to talk to Liz, because they knew I sung, and Liz had told them that she needed another background singer. So I went and auditioned, and Liz, she said, look, you and I don't get along so well, so let's just do it this way. I'll hire you, but the deal is you can't talk to Jerry. It's really important that you not what? I'm sure she didn't say the words, but what she meant was harsh as buzz. So I figured, she doesn't know me, because I would never do that, but the restaurant environment is different.
Well, I mean, hold on. I mean, was it like some secret society thing? Like it was too, like it was like a pecking order. You couldn't. I mean, Jerry would be the most approachable guy. I mean, Steve Parrish.
Yeah.
Steve Parrish honestly will choke me to death if he ever meets me, because I mean, obviously, my tentacles are out everywhere in this thing, but. I would have just been having a ball with Garcia. So it was, that's so interesting. So she was like, listen, you're just coming in. You can't talk to Jerry.
Yeah, don't talk to Jerry, because she thought I was just going to be a major bitch and
Jesus.
be as obnoxious in that band situation as I was in the restaurant.
yeah.
and of course, I never would have done that. But I didn't really understand at that time because to me they were just a local band, and
Right.
I didn't understand the whole Dead thing, and I didn't have any consciousness of that being such a big deal. And so in going in, I wanted to. I promised her, and I wanted to keep my promise, so I hardly talked to Jerry at all. For the whole time I was there, I barely had a conversation with him unless he talked to me first. And it was okay because we got our work done, and the Dead are they don't those guys like spend a lot of time hanging out, right? They just go and do their thing.
Yeah, it's true.
was on the
They're
road.
not. I mean, they did that thing back in the mid '60s. They were kind of like at that point in their career, they were like, all right, let's do what we have to do and move on.
Yeah.
But you came in. I mean, the vocal blend of you guys it rivals any of.
Aw.
I'm serious. I mean,
Thank you.
I'm not a Donna Jean Moldauer fan. I mean, I love them as people, but I mean, it didn't work for me. I love Jacqueline and Gloria. That definitely has some serious deep gospel. But
Yeah.
I mean, you and Liz, man, I would have been like the biggest fan groupie guy ever, just freaking out. I mean, you're telling me that. So I mean, you didn't talk to Jerry, but did you go to Club Front for a rehearsal? How did that work?
Yeah. I went to Club Front. Not very much. We rehearsed a little bit before the album, before doing Run for the Roses.
Right.
And Liz and I got to be good friends. We really, when she more discovered who I was, and I figured out who she was, we really got along well, and I think our blend got better at that point. I came from the choir, so I was, and from singing with Jennifer Hall, the blend was everything. And you stand when you sing with somebody, and you're doing these close harmony attack is like 100%. It's not even that you are looking at each other, but you are aware constantly of what the other person is doing, because their sound needs to be your sound, and it's the closest thing to a spouse is your singing partner. It's a soul connection, is what I guess the best way to say it. And there's nothing that feels better than having a good harmonic blend with another partner or a couple of partners. And when you're making the harmony and you're adding to the music like that, I'm so thrilled to hear that what you just played me, because I had no idea, no honest feeling about what I added to the group, and I can hear that it.
Julie, I'm telling you, because I mean, I had the CD for a while, and because I've interviewed, he goes by, well, he was Jimmy Warren at the time, so I've interviewed Jimmy,
Yeah.
and I never, John Conn, my hero, but I've interviewed Melvin,
Dawn.
the greatest legendary cat, and the thing is that. So I'm listening to this Passaic show, and I mean there was a show from Music Mountain a week earlier that was in upstate New York, kind of like, and I believe that it was in South Fallsburg, New York, and there was a big rainstorm, and I mean again this is all fantasy for me, but like there it was evident that there were you guys were singing like The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down, and like that was like a double, and then this Passaic show. The first set's okay, but the second set, and I have a feeling it was because it was the end of the tour, and Kreutzmann never played with Jerry Garcia band again after that. So this was the final show. They kind of all knew it was a special thing. The most and the Dear Prudence, when you're just turn around, right. I mean, it's like it's the most beautiful thing. I couldn't believe it, and then I somehow. Jimmy Warren hit me to it was recorded on closed circuit television. It's a video.
I had no idea.
You're going to lose your mind. I mean, and it's like it's the greatest Garcia band set of my life. It's the greatest thing ever. And I know you were just solo out there, man. I mean, it's pretty remarkable. But you did, because you did the work for. Where you go to, because people like Michael Omardian were involved. Did you go down and cut the Run for the Roses album with them down in L.A.?
I didn't go to L.A. We cut the parts that I was on. We did it at Club Front, and I think. Wait a second, is that right?
That's probably right.
Yeah, I think that's right. And and we weren't on so many of the songs, but I thought I'm proud of the work that we did. I thought it sounded good, and that was, I think that was the last that I did with them. There might have been one small tour after that, but I don't think so.
I'm trying to think about like what that whole, like for instance, I know Liz told me, I haven't actually released that interview yet, but I'm going to very soon, and she talked about how open Jerry was. Basically, he said, "Hey, if you guys have a tune, break it out. Let's hear it." He was very like open and very sort of, democratic as it related to hearing other people's ideas. I mean, was there, even though you didn't go up to talk to him, was there a definitive moment of him coming in and engaging you?
I remember a few times when he, complimented the backgrounds a few times, not a lot, but we had a couple of conversations about some of the gifts that he was being given on the road. People would throw these spirit bags at him, and like filled with crystals and herbs and that kind of stuff, and it kind of creeped him out a little bit because if you believe in that stuff, the crystals absorb the energy of the person that has been using that crystal for a while, and he wasn't sure that he didn't know these people, fans that he may or may not have seen before, and didn't know whether or not this is something he really wanted to have around. But he was always gracious about it, and but he talked to me a little bit about my mom and a little bit about the audiences, because I was completely shocked getting out there.
What was so shocking? What was the unconditional love? I mean, it's not like you've been around music your whole life. What was it about? Because this was the other thing that, like,
it was an enigma to me. I didn't,
right.
Because I wasn't a huge Dead fan. I mean, I don't think I had ever listened to a Dead album.
Right.
I had heard the singles from time to time, but I had never bought one, and so I did not know. I didn't know about the audiences. I didn't know that when you come to the East Coast,
he would
sell out. Yeah, I mean, it was just small time back in the East Bay, and,
it's interesting. I mean, everybody you'd see. I mean, Melvin said he'd see a billboard that they'd be playing New Year's Eve in Oakland. Most people didn't know Jerry even had a band. It was like he has a Jerry Garcia band. And when you did these incredible runs, also it was. I do wonder about how you dealt with the Melvin. There was no darker drug time for Jerry than that time. I mean, that really was the beginning. And my obsession with the early 80s has a lot to do with the fact that Jerry just he basically should have been dead. I don't even know. I mean, a couple years, I don't even know how he kept living. And, Melvin said that they were unscrupulous in the fact that they would never, because he was a man of the church, they would never use in front of him. They were always very courteous to get him his own room. These shows, I just want to say that the shows that you are on from when you joined, you did this like kind of like Atlantic Seaboard run in '81. In Painter's Mill and Jersey and I'm just like, and these shows are like 4 hours long. I mean, they're long, like 17-minute versions of Simple Twist of Fate. And I mean, how did you? I mean, Liz ultimately just, I think it was just like too much partying or so. I mean, how did you avoid was that also a little bit unnerving, or I don't know what the right word is, but I mean that.
I can say that it was nothing, from nothing to shattering. It was both, because I didn't have a lot of interaction. They were kind. Those who in the band decided to use did not use in my presence, And I'd say that, and I was on the same tours as Melvin. And
Right.
I know that Melvin and I hung out a little bit, and I hung out with Tut because there was no use going on there. We were all kind of little on the outside. Thank goodness for that, because I wasn't interested in drugs, and it was that was my desired profession, and I didn't want to distort that thing that it was, and I wanted to make sure that my voice would be influenced by any kind of drugs that I did, and I couldn't do that to being on stage and needing to give a good performance. And so I chose sobriety, and I got to say, they spoiled us. I think I gained several pounds on the road because of all the catering and the good food, and there was always nice wine and steaks, and we felt very pampered.
That's so beautiful. I mean, this is so amazing to hear this. I mean, I love talking about this because even Jimmy Warren said, he goes, he goes, a lot of times you're in the country western bands and the star will fly first class, and he'll put the accompanists in a commercial plane, and he's like, with Jerry, he's like, we stayed at the best hotels, the nicest place. And I don't even think that even, but it wasn't like Jerry even cared about that stuff, but he did it. He wanted, his ethos was just like, everybody's an integral part of this equation, and he wanted everybody to be equal. I mean, he did the same thing with, all his, I don't even know what the policy was with your band, but I know a few years earlier, he was involved with this project called Reconstruction, and with Ron Stallings and Merle Saunders and Ed Neumeister, this trombone player who was basically completely unknown. And after they're like, we got a door gig at the Keystone Corner, and Neumeister's like, nah, for a jazz guy that means like, you're gonna get like $5-10. And Rock Scully comes up to him after the first show and gives him this envelope. And it's like, there's $100 bill on the top, and he's like, no, I think you gave me the whole band's money. He's like, no, that's your cut, man, that's your cut. And so was it all equal? Everyone got equal pay?
I don't know what the other band members got. I got. I don't. All I know is that generally we flew. Jerry was always in first class, and mostly we'd fly first class with him, but sometimes there wasn't enough room, or he would put the crew in the back. I remember Rock being up front and the roadies being in back, and they weren't happy about it because they are both big boys. And so they made a little bit of a fuss, and then they got to sit up front. But the quality of the road was just so high, and I asked why, and it was explained to me that there was so much life on the road, that this was life, and why not enjoy it if it was possible to do it, and rather than having it be crunch time every time. And so we stayed at the Harley Hotel, we stayed at the Parker House in Boston, we stayed at the Alpine, which was in the South Tower at the Trade Center in New York. And it wasn't always like that, but it was a Sheraton and not a Motel 6, put it that way. And then they always had the cooks would follow up. They were always behind us in their van.
Wait, so you're telling me there were traveling cooks with the band, that people that part of the staff, or like just friends of the?
Yeah.
Oh.
No, they were staff. They followed up with a gas oven. And like a whole gas stove.
God, this is so insanely cool. I mean, so it's always kind of melancholy when I watch the show that I'll send you, because I realize it was there was a new iteration of singers after that. I mean, did it just sort of, where did you?
So what happened was, Liz had gotten really sick, and I don't remember where it was. You probably have a better idea than I.
She got sick in Maine or something, or somewhere like that.
All I know is it was very upsetting to me because I was really worried about her, and it had to go on, of course. And you know, as far as in a professional situation, you don't really want to be emotionally broke down. But I remember in one of those places, and it might have been Maine, because I think we were eating a lot of lobster.
Yeah.
Those great big ones. And,
Yeah,
and
I'm sure you
and
were.
I remember being at that venue at backstage and finding out that she wasn't going to come back, and that she was going to go home, and just being crushed about it. You know, but I don't, and I saw her I think we cut the album, and I believe that's the last time that I physically saw her. We're friends on Facebook, and from time to time I hear about good things about what she's doing. Some of her music, and by the way, it's great. She's doing some amazing things.
Yeah, she was in that punk band, Wet Nurse, way back when. It was one of the first. It was like late 70s. But yeah, I mean, you know, I wonder about if you talk about how ultimately why you decided to. You mentioned your husband's a decorated musician, but why you ultimately stepped away from the racket.
Yeah. You know, something happens. I put out my own single in 1983, I believe it was, and
That's the one you sent me?
Yes.
Yes.
And production on it was great, and I had my own band at that point. Had been separated from my singing partner Jennifer for a little bit by that time, and I had big hopes. And I think sometimes when things don't work out, you get so close. And it was in Billboard and all that, and we gigged a few times locally, and we were so close to getting some interest, and then it didn't happen. It was just a big letdown. At that point, I was also managing recording studios, and I was having a great time doing that, and being around Santana and I think who else was in there? Doobie Brothers. So I was managing at the plant.
Oh, the record plant.
Had been the record plant.
Holy cow!
By the time I was there, it was the plant, and then it was also Club Fed after the Feds took over when they busted the owner.
Oh my! What year is this about?
Maybe like late 80s, and
Unbelievable.
he was a bad boy. he did some things he should not have done, but they got wise to what was going on, and they began to shut him down. And they stepped in at some point. The plant was closed for a little bit, and then and I had been managing over at Trace Burgos, which became Tarpon.
Oh yeah,
And,
yeah, that's great, unbelievable.
Yeah, it's where Narda.
Yeah, a dear fan of the Jake Feinberg. I love that cat. I've done a couple interviews with it. Yeah, he's still doing his thing over there.
Most positive.
Yeah.
So positive.
Yeah, love cat. Yeah.
Yeah, really good guy. And but he'd taken over, and I used to call it my baby job because I loved that job so much, managing there, and I didn't get to continue. He brought in his staff that he brought over from his other recording studio. And so I went over to the plant, and it got busted by the feds, and we closed down for a little while, and then came back in a little bit later on when they began to run it as a recording studio, managed by us, but basically owned and run by the feds. So
that is bizarre.
Yeah, so I was doing night shifts and working until 3. We went through the Loma Prieta earthquake one day when I was there, and I remember watching the parking lot roll towards us like a wave, just all that blacktop coming straight towards us, and the mast of the schooner that belongs to the Bay model fell like all the way over, and I saw that mast go, and I'm thinking it's not coming back up, and then it did, amazingly enough. But it was a boy, I think Mother Love Bone was in there cutting at that time. Do you remember them? They were right before Pearl Jam. It was the first
Yeah,
iteration.
it's interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, I really did not become. I was a sports fanatic. I don't think I really got into music until like I was at Boston University in the late '90s. I mean, but I know that time period, that sort of pre grunge kind of thing going on. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Andy Wood was their lead singer, and he had overdosed just after the album was finished. It hadn't been released yet. And so I think one thing and another happened. I guess the desire, I was disappointed. I remember not listening to music for a while and not being able to hear it, and not wanting to go to gigs, and not really wanting to. And Ted, my husband, was still actively playing with Billy and the Boppers and the Bandaloons, and he'd come out of Southern rock. He played with Les Dudek.
Another guy I've interviewed, Les. What a character! I love that cat.
Yeah, what a player. And Ted played B3 with Les's band, and so he was playing locally, and we were doing pretty well. And I think just the world called. You know, I decided it was too hard to try and live on both sides, and ended up trying to be professional and make money and have a life. And then we came to my folks died, and we came to Georgia, and I found that there was not any music going on here. 25 years ago, there was nothing going on. And so for 25 years, I've sold real estate and built a good life, solid material life, and but one thing has been lacking for a long time musically. I would record a few things here and there, but not with anybody, just sort of by myself. And I discovered that I could write. And I mean, I'd been writing songs and jingles and stuff for years and years, but I found that I could write screenplays, and so that's what I've been doing, is writing and producing and directing.
What did Jerry say about your mom? Did he say she was a badass musician?
No, I don't think he ever said that. I think he said, "Oh yeah, she's one of those Berkeley, those Berkeley mamas." I think he said those Berkeley mamas.
Berkeley mamas.
Yeah.
Oh man.
And I thought, okay, do you remember? I mean, she remembered him, but like as just a really young guy, and just starting to play banjo at that time.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and she was a maid. No, I don't mean like Southern country. I mean like roots country.
Yeah.
With the way she would pick, because that's the way she learned from her black.
Oh God, that is unbelievable. I mean, Julie, I can't thank you enough for taking the time going there with me today. It was like it's really. I'll send you some of these clips. I know you know, because it's just like, it's, I don't know. I feel, I've had my hand in so many different genres of music, and my first book was just birthed, and it's highly representative of like, just all music and the spiritual qualities of music, and even in the material world that you've been in for a while, I mean, you still need to get stuff out of your system, you still need to create, and you still need to inspire people to be themselves. And I thank you.
I hope to do that.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to abduct you for quite a while, and I don't think I felt like I had anything I could add, but I'd feel, after hearing what Marla put out, I started to remember some things, and felt like all of a sudden I've got some inspirational stuff going on. I've got a film coming out called Dog River, and hopefully that'll hit film festivals in the spring.
What's it about?
It's about two families recovering from the loss of two family members that were killed in a tornado, and how they cope with it, and two boys of the different families becoming friends down by the Dog River, which is an actual river here close to where I live. And so I wrote it, and this is my first directorial debut, and I feel really good about it so far.
Well, please let me know when there's screenings. I'll
Okay.
I'll try to publicize it.
Great.
Yeah, bless you, my friend. It was great to hang with you.
Well, thank you, and bless you too. I hope nothing but good things go for you, and I'm glad that we finally put it together.
Absolutely, my friend. Have a beautiful day.
You too.
All right, later
take care,
on.
Jake.
Bye.
Bye.
Harder they come, the harder they fall. We'll be back with William Tyler after this.
I've seen it is to be led by you.